Hello, 7th grade, and welcome to Lesson 6-6 on percents and equations. In tonight's lesson, we're going to be able to write and solve percent equations, and you're also going to be able to use equations to solve percent problems. So we're going to go ahead and get started. In yesterday's lesson, we talked about how you could solve percents by really doing proportions. Tonight we're just looking at another way you can do it. So while they won't have the pictures or those bars again, it's just another way to solve those same problems from yesterday. Now in the warm-up they talk about writing a percent as a decimal. Alright, I'm just going to remind you a quick thing before we move on. Alright, when we always talk about a percent, it's out of 100. So 48% is the same as 48 over 100, which if you divide it out, is 48 hundredths. This is very important for tonight's lesson because you're going to have to convert some percents to fractions. Alright, so again, as I said, this is just another thing that way to solve problems from yesterday. Alright, now when we're talking about doing these ones though, there's something you need to look at, and that's again the words is and of. Now here, whenever they have the word is, that means you're going to put in an equal sign. Okay? If they have the word of, it means you're going to multiply. And this is really going to help you in tonight's lesson. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Here's our first one. What is 35% of 84? Alright, well, I'm going to read it as it goes across and look for those words is and of. Well, what is 35% of means to multiply 84. Now I have it set up, but in order to actually solve this, I'm going to switch this 35% to a decimal. So again, you divide by 100 and you get 0.35. All you're really doing is moving the decimal over 2 spaces. So 35 hundredths times 84. So if you do that, you're going to do 0.35 times 84 and get 29 and 4/10. That is what's 35% of 84. Moving on. Here we have this one. What percent of 26 is 65? Well, this time we're looking for the percent. All right, so we need to figure this one out. So instead of a question mark, I'm going to put in the variable y. And I'm going to switch that multiplication sign so it's a little circle. That way it's a little easier to observe. So now we have y times 26 is the same as 65. Well, in order to figure out what the percentage is, we need to get y by itself. So we divide by 26, and we get y is, I believe, 62.5. But let me double check myself just to be sure. And yep, we get 2.5. Now that doesn't make sense as a percent. Right now it's just written as a decimal. So to switch a decimal to a percent, you always times by 100. So 2 5/10 times 100 is 250%. That's your answer. So that's something to keep in mind. Whenever they ask about what percent, you're going to have to multiply your answer by 100. That's the only way you're going to have it written as a percent. Alright, now we're on to commission. Now there are people out there who work for commission, basically meaning you get paid based on how much you sell. Car sales people do this, royalties, so your favorite singers get commission on what's being sold. I even hear some clothing stores do this too. So a car sale representative makes a 6 5/10% commission on each car sold. How much commission is there on the sale of a car for $35,000? So this representative is going to make 6.5% off of however much that car costs. So if the car's very cheap, they're not going to make as much if they sold a $50,000 car. So whatever the percentage is, you times that by the cost of the car. So here I have 6 5/10% times $35,000. But again, we don't want to multiply by a percent, we want to multiply by a decimal. So we're going to divide it by 100, and you're going to end up with 0.65. So 65 thousandths times 35,000. And this is going to tell us how much you made. So if you go ahead and get out your calculator, 0.065 times 35,000 is $2,275. So that's how much he made off of selling one car. Here's this one. Now it's your turn to solve it. A singer receives a 5% royalty on each CD sale. To the nearest cent, so in the hundredths place, find his royalty for a CD that sells for $16.99. So like I said, it's your turn. Go ahead and solve this and come back and check your answer. So go ahead and pause me now. All right, let's go ahead and solve this. Well, again, the singer receives 5% of the CD, which costs $16.99. First, I'm going to switch this by dividing it by 100, and I have 5 hundredths times $16.99. And this singer is going to receive about 85 cents for every CD he sells, which doesn't seem like a lot of money, but your favorite singers, if they sell millions of albums, that adds up very, very quickly. All right, and then we have this one, and then we're all done. During a telephone survey, 414 people, or 46% of those called, said that they were watching station RFGT at the time of the call. How many people were called? So, what's really going to help us with this one is looking at this part right here. 414 people, or 46% of those called. All right, we know that 46% of those people called. All right, said that they were watching RFGT. So that 414 is what it equals to. Because we need to find 46% of the whole. So here we have 46% times x. Because if you take that whole number, times it by that 46%, well, 46% of it is 414. So we need to solve this in order to get all the people called. Again, first step, change that percent to a decimal, and I'm rewriting it. Then I go ahead and solve. I have 46 hundredths times x, so to get rid of it, I divide. And when you divide this out, you get x is 900, and it's a word problem, so people. And that would be your answer. So in tonight's lesson, we talked about how we can solve equations using the words is and of to know that is means equal and of means to multiply. And then we also solved word problems using these parts. So you have a good night, and I will see you in class tomorrow.